Welcome everyone to the Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague. With me, like always, is my wonderful friend, Noah Bailey. So today, we are finally going to be reviewing Wonder Woman 1984. I don't know how to start this. It's like, just very, very basic summary. This movie isn't great, unfortunately, because the first one was so good. Wonder Woman from 2017, like, made me like have hope again in the DC, universe.
Absolutely.
And this movie is like kind of not good at all. And that's I. What are your general thoughts?
It's boring. Like that was kind of like I. First off, this movie took a long time to actually get going. Like way longer than it should have. It felt like and like didn't explain anything while we were waiting. That's kind of what bothers
Yeah,
me.
we'll definitely touch on that a little bit even more later. But I would kind of argue this movie never got going at all. Or if
Yeah.
it did, it never went anywhere important. And then, yeah, like, oh my goodness, I don't even know like what aspect exactly, because it's immediately after watching it. It's been a couple of days since watching, but immediately after I turned my brother and was like, I enjoyed it. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. I think it it's kind of the like forgettable bad, not like the BVS Rise of Skywalker bad where you just think about it every 5 minutes. You're like, oh, that part sucks. Oh,
Yeah,
that
like the
makes me
cringe.
angry.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm not as attached to Wonder Woman as a franchise or as a character that I don't. Maybe it's just because I don't care enough to get angry at it. But it definitely wasn't good.
Yeah. And I kind of I don't know if this is more on the movie or more of just being at home and stuff, but like I found myself like on my phone during a lot of this
Yeah.
movie and not really caring and going on just looking up like, oh wait, what happened? Oh, okay, it
Yeah,
wasn't them.
and
Never mind.
here's my absolute biggest disappointment with this movie. For the first like 30 minutes, I was really into it. Like
Yeah.
the opening shot with young Diana doing that obstacle course, it didn't end up actually mattering because that entire scene just led to her the mom explaining about the Golden Eagle armor, which comes up later, which we'll get into that later. But then that Golden Eagle armor just explained later in the movie anyway, so he didn't need that scene, but it was still a good scene.
Yeah.
Also, the themes of that scene of her like taking a shortcut also didn't really go anywhere, even though that could have been a decent theme for the
It was
movie.
yeah, I thought that was kind of like alluding to the whole wish thing, but like not
Not really.
clear
This
enough
movie
that
has
it
like
really
four different morals, and none of them really clash. We'll probably get into that later, but like whatever. None of them really add up too much. But and then immediately after that, it comes to current day 1984, and just the vibes I was getting from the city, it felt like an 80s city. The mall scene felt like something right out of like a 80s or 90s cheesy kids movie, and I adore that aesthetic. I feel like there's something about more modern movies today that just kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's something about 80s and 90s, especially kids movies, that just feel very freeing. It just feel like they could just kind of do whatever, and like they just have this vibe to them that just, I don't know, feel like they can't really be made nowadays, and that's just kind of annoying. But when I saw that this movie was had a very similar vibe to those, like like Home Alone or other stuff like that,
yeah.
that was really refreshing, and I was really hoping the entire movie would be like this,
It was not.
and then it wasn't. Like, you had a
You
good
kind of
thing going for the
forgot.
first 30 minutes, and then it just kind of went on to be
Yeah.
just a more boring superhero kind of movie. Like,
Yeah. Other than like the very like in your face references and stuff, like you kind of forgot it was in the 80s. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know I did.
Like, there wasn't. There was maybe two '80s songs throughout the entire movie,
Yeah.
and considering like 1983 is considered one of the greatest years in music, you have so much stuff to pull from just from the year prior to this movie taking place. You just didn't, or even some stuff from later. Like it wouldn't matter. Like people wouldn't be like,
As
oh,
long
that
as it's
movie's
the
actually
80s.
that song is actually from 1987, so they couldn't. Like no one would care. Like
Well, like as long as it's not on like a radio, no one would have
yeah,
cared. You
but
know, like it wouldn't really matter.
There was maybe two songs throughout the entire movie, and like, I get that Hans Zimmer, wanted to have his soundtrack own the movie, and like, I get it. But in scenes where you don't need to necessarily have like a superhero soundtrack going in the background, like maybe just like have a car going by like with the song playing on the radio, or it'll just like non-diegetically. Like, it could be done to make it feel more 80s, or at least have like a more upbeat vibe, especially during the more boring bits. Especially during the scene, I don't think there was there a song playing during the wardrobe changing scene with Steve? Was there even like a pop song playing there? It should
I
have
don't
been.
think so. The opportunity was there, but like I don't. There might have been. I don't remember one though. I just kind of remember it was just like it taking longer than I thought it was going to take. The like montage of different clothing.
I do really like that scene though, and we'll get to like more Steve part in a minute. But I do really like that scene because it's kind of a parallel to in the first Wonder Woman, when she first gets to the mainland. She's like has like a 5-minute montage of her trying on clothes. I really like that kind of parallel.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think about that.
But it really did feel like kind of after that moment, the movie started just kind of. I thought, okay, so they're, Steve is fully introduced. They've, spent the night together. They're gonna go on their first adventure. Like, the movie's gonna get going. 20 minutes go by. Okay, no, 20 minutes. Maybe now.
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah. Like you kept waiting for things to kind of start going, and they never really like. It didn't feel like the movie really started until like the White House scene, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, and that was like an hour and a half in.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's when like anything actually that mattered felt like it really started.
And I want to. I don't even know where exactly to go next. There's so much stuff I want to talk about, but I'll.
It's okay. Well, we got time.
I'm just gonna talk about Cheetah first. I think that's the most constructive part. I'm just gonna kind of break it down by like major sections.
Okay.
Cheetah, I love Kristen Wiig. I really do like that character. As far as like in the comics, I think she's a very decent, yep, honestly kind of boring adversary to Wonder Woman. Like she's just a strong cat lady, but like there's not a lot going on, but she's still pretty standard equal to Wonder Woman. That when she shows up, you kind of get the feeling that that's the villain of your story. Just something to deal with in your story. Like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Cheetah in this movie was completely pointless.
Yeah.
You could have literally had just some random archaeologist find the wishing stone and then not show up in the rest of the movie, and just have Wonder Woman either A, not fight anybody in the end, or B, just have Maxwell Lord just wish himself superpowers because he can do that,
right?
And then have her fight him. Maybe it'd be probably more interesting than the Cheetah fight. Like
it was kind of like I liked honestly there like the first fight, I guess. Not really, but like that one seemed more interesting. Like the second one felt very like anticlimactic.
Yes, literally.
Like extremely.
Yeah, how did the fight before she became Cheetah? It had more weight and it felt more epic than when she actually was Cheetah with Wonder Woman and the Golden Eagle armor. Like that scene from the trailer where you see Wonder Woman like catch her by the neck and like slam her down.
Yeah.
The trailer cuts right before she slams, and now I get why, because as soon as she slams, it's in slow-mo and just kind of goes, it's not like a thud, it's like she just kind of like lands and then gets back on her feet. Like, Wonder Woman slams you on your back, and you just kind of
Walked it off.
that was this entire fight sequence. I know we're skipping to the end, but yeah, like we're just doing that entire fight. It didn't really feel like a fight. There wasn't like much back and forth. It was a lot of swinging around and like
Not really hitting each other, kind of just
yeah.
hitting around each other, and eventually, and also how the fight ended was stupid. Also,
Wonder Woman is, I guess, the Golden Eagle armor made her immune to lightning. I
I
guess.
get like I first off like I understand like that electricity and water is very deadly for like people, but I feel like at this point you guys should be fine.
Yes.
Like, and the fact that like she was done after that
And
was
Wonder
kind of
Woman
just
wasn't
like
damaged at all.
yeah, and like I know she has the armor, but like okay,
That's
and
something
like
you
I
need.
don't know.
That's something you need to set up earlier in the movie. That this armor, gives her that level of durability.
Well, I mean, it said she took on the original person, took on the whole, I think, Astra or something like that. I don't remember the name, but
Yeah, yeah, like spears and fists, not
yeah, like
lightning.
not like chemical electricity, you know, like I
If the
don't know.
lore was like they used this armor to fight a god or something,
Yeah, that's one thing.
but
Also,
yeah,
her face is not protected, so like one splash and then it
yes,
gets in her mouth, and then then she's
yeah,
dead.
she
So
didn't
like,
have her
okay,
helmet on at that point, so like,
yeah, I was like, okay, like what? She's got her like. Plus, that suit doesn't sink. Like
yeah,
you can't. The thing looks like it's made out of gold. You're telling me? I know she's got powers, but
yeah,
like, come on.
and
Like,
like when Cheetah's attacking her, she's just like holding the wings in front of her, and Cheetah just like clawing at it. I was imagining like if she has this armor, could have been a cool, like how Batman fights with his cape, where he like blocks and then punches and then like like
yeah,
distracts sweep with the cape. Like it could
or
have
like
been
a
really cool, but
turn or
instead she just kind
something,
of blocks for a while.
and then throws them off and never uses them again.
What?
And it was kind of like I feel like that was kind of like a big waste there. You could have used that for
Yeah, you could use
something.
those
Like
offensively.
if
But
she
no, like,
broke them, that's one thing. But like you kind of just all right, I don't need this anymore. Like apparently you did, but then I guess not. But I don't know. I was
just that entire fight was disappointing. But going back to the very beginning, I I kind of hate this trope of like the bumbling down on their luck, loser admires the main character and then gets superpowers.
mm-hmm,
In every single bad superhero movie,
mm-hmm,
that's the thing. Like
yep.
Batman Forever, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Batman and Robin, even with
Freaking Megamind. Granted, I love that movie, but I mean, come on.
it's been done before. And
Every
like,
movie does
I would
this.
argue that this one kind of did it worse than at least some of
Yeah.
the others because this movie did a lot of telling and not showing. The
Mm-hmm.
movie told us constantly that Barbara was a loser, that she didn't have any friends, that her life was sad before she met Diana, before she made that wish, and if she renounced her wish, she would give up everything. We never saw any of that. We just saw her drop some files. We just saw a woman forget her name. That happens. Like,
Yeah, and like you can kind of infer, okay, yeah, she's probably not that known, but it was like, yeah, I think there wasn't enough shown. Like, maybe if there was a scene of like people talking about her, and then she walks in, and everyone's like, oh,
yes.
something like that,
Or
or
even just
like,
like seeing her apartment. We never got to see her apartment. Like, that is a grade A storytelling. You don't have to do anything aside from just make a messy set with like some cats around.
yeah,
Which would also explain later why she wants to be a cat. Like just to show
yeah,
how
that was
sad
never
her home life is.
explained.
She just wants to
No,
be a
she just
predator.
wanted to be
Why?
like out of nowhere. I want to be a predator.
It's like it was
What?
a scene cut or something. Yeah, I don't know.
No, like that felt really bad. Yeah, because like it felt very forced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it almost didn't. It just felt like because I need to be Cheetah, I'm gonna be Cheetah. It's like that didn't. There's no reason behind
Yeah.
it. 'Cause she was already as strong as Wonder Woman. Why do
Yeah.
you? Like, what did being a cheetah add? Like, I feel like that was
Nothing.
very like, if anything, a lateral move, but not. I mean, that was not a. I don't know. I didn't feel very.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
don't know.
And just like kind of as the movie went on, Barbara progressed to being a worse and worse person. Yet, because we never got to meet her before she became a horrible person, aside from her interacting with that one homeless man in a positive way,
Yeah,
that was the only instance of us seeing her previous life.
yeah, and they kind of had the scene where she's beating up the creepy dude, and then the homeless guy's like, "What are you doing?" But I'm like, okay, in her defense, that dude was
That
creepy,
guy kind
and
of
like,
deserved it.
this was
Like,
not the first time he attacked her. So like, granted, he deserves to get beaten to
maybe
the
you
pulp,
shouldn't have like beat him up
almost.
that much, but like he,
But like, in context, yeah, I know. Like, maybe you
yeah,
shouldn't, kill the guy, but at the same time, I mean, the guy's, I mean, he's a terrible person. I
yeah.
mean, it's not like this is a law fighting. This guy's terrible.
Mm,
So there's that, and like, I guess I was trying. I don't know. There didn't feel a lot of emotion because we had no real connection there. We only had one previous scene between
mm,
those two, so it kind of didn't really resonate. Like, wow, I really see this dark side of you now. It was kind of
yes.
just, oh, you beat up a creeper.
It's not like she beat up the homeless man. She beat up the creeper and then said none of your
Right.
business and then walked
And
away.
when Wonder Woman beat him up, like she pretty much did the same thing, and everyone was like, "Oh, great job, Wonder Woman," because I mean he was bleeding on in
Yeah.
the park the first time, so like I don't see why this is different. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe because she had a different look in her eye, or because she's not the main character, but like I
Yeah.
didn't seem weird because like dude was about to was gonna choke her out. Like,
Mm,
come on, I don't know, double
I,
standards.
yeah. So I legitimately feel like you could cut Cheetah out of this movie entirely, and the themes wouldn't really change. The movie wouldn't really change. It would just be shorter and honestly maybe a little better for it. Even though Cheetah should
Honestly,
be a decent villain for a Wonder Woman movie, because she's this kind of weird side villain, she's just
yeah.
not important.
Yeah, they don't really use her well. Because honestly, yeah, like you said, I mean, she was kind of just like really like an extension of a henchman, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like just kind of muscle, more or less, but like with supposed death that was not used well.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just feels like
She
a
didn't even
wasted opportunity.
die, but now but like because she turned back from being Cheetah, you can't use Cheetah anymore.
Yeah, which I don't know. There's a lot in this that I didn't really like. We'll get to the wishing thing in a second, but like, yeah, the whole cheetah, like, it just kind of felt it kind of felt out of nowhere. Because my thing is like, if I have all these powers, and the last time I saw Wonder Woman was losing her powers. So why do I think now I have to upgrade? Because I just kicked her butt a second ago,
Yes.
and as far as I know, we're gonna keep business as usual.
Yeah, and
So it kind of felt really forced.
let's move on to that. The whole Steve plus her losing her
Oh,
powers thing. What do you? How do you? What do you
first,
think
the
of the way
Steve
they just
thing
did
makes
that?
no
No sense.
sense.
Yeah, no sense at
I'm
all.
sorry. Like, here's my thing. Everyone else pretty much got exactly what they wished for without the loss of something else, more or
Yes.
less. In some weird way or something. But like, how is Steve but not Steve? Like, why didn't Steve just come back to life in his own body? Why does he possess some random dude at the party? Like that
No.
made no sense. Because like my thing is like, if you're gonna use, pardon my friend, but if you're gonna use magical BS, like go for it. Don't
Yeah.
half do magical BS.
We
Like that didn't
saw
make any
later in
sense.
the movie people like wishes just literally disappearing and or like popping up out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Like that
I
wall
mean,
came up
people
out of nowhere and then
literally,
just
yeah,
crashed back down.
yeah. Stuff just shows up. People randomly drop dead. Stuff just shows up, and then it's like your wish, but weird.
Yeah.
Somehow, like not like yes, it's his mind, but he's in some random dude's body,
And
and
then
like
it's never mentioned how everything after that point Wonder Woman is willfully and Steve is willfully putting this random person in all this danger.
yes, yes,
Like we have this guy going facing down a tank and they never think if this guy dies
Yeah,
not only
what
I die,
happens
not only is
exactly?
Steve, the guy I'm inside also dying. Does
That's
he
what I'm saying. This
have a
free,
family, a
innocent
job? Like there
soul.
could be people relying on him to live. Like
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I was literally thinking, I wonder where this guy's family's at right now.
yeah,
Like, granted, I mean, apparently he lived alone in his apartment, but like somebody's got to miss him. He's got
yeah.
a job or
Mm-hmm.
something. He's gonna just. I mean, the dude comes back to his life a week later when the world's on fire. What? He's getting. I mean, what is he? Assuming the guy goes back to his body when the whole wish is reverted, but like,
Also,
what the heck?
she renounces her wish before the end of the climax. So this guy just wakes back up in his own
Yes.
body as the world is going to crap all around him.
Yes.
He wakes up,
No
oh
idea
crap,
what's happening.
nukes? What did I miss?
I know. Also, who? I mean, she might see him as Steve Trevor, but everyone else sees him as just some, as him. So for all he's got foreign people on. He's on foreign people's most wanted list because he just tried to
Yeah.
kill them all. So he's got that hanging over his head
I'm
forever.
wanted in
Like,
Cairo? Like, why?
yeah, like he's like, how am I enemy number one in 7 countries I've never been to? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and I know that's like really like kind of just random stuff to think of, but it was just kind of, it felt very unnecessary for
Yeah.
that specific wish to be complicated, and all the other ones are just exactly, monkey's paw and all, but still like pretty much exactly as is. You just lose something.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Like if
feel, and also I feel the end of the movie with her meeting this other handsome guy who she forms a quick connection with. That honestly would have been stronger had it not just been the same guy she had been looking at for the entire movie, because because I would have felt better about her moving on past Steve if the first guy she talks to isn't just, oh, you remind me of Steve, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That was, yeah, I don't get, that was my biggest gripe with pretty much the whole thing. It was like, this doesn't add up with what the rest of the movie is doing. And I feel like this was decided early, and then as things changed in the movie, they didn't come back and like revive. Because you could have just been like, all right, see Trevor's back to life. His own body, no questions asked, he just kind of shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would have made more, I mean, granted, that doesn't make sense, but like, in the confines of the movie, that would have made way more sense.
Yes. So yeah, she wished for Steve Trevor to come back, and in return, she started gradually losing her powers.
Right.
And this has been done
Kind of.
before in many other superhero movies. Superman 3, I think, Spider-Man 2. Like, this happens constantly, like Thor, whatever. Like, this happens.
Yeah.
But the way it was done felt very confusing, because
Yeah.
I think at one point she like kind of like acted like she was having a headache or something because she's tired or whatever. And then the first little instance you see of her losing her powers was she was kind of like struggling with the lock and then finally broke it. I thought that was just a gag. Like, I thought it was just like a one-off, like cheesy, like,
Yeah, that's what I was
lock,
thinking.
I thought it was just a gag.
Yeah, well, at first I was kind of like I was really about to go on a rant. I was like, how is Wonder Woman gonna be able to punch through a building, but you can't get like? I was like, but I thought, okay, yeah, like maybe it's a gag, maybe they are prepared, like who knows?
And then
But yeah, I didn't even think about
when
that.
they're in
way later.
Cairo and they're having that kind of boring chase with that caravan, which
Yeah.
during this caravan I had a total lack of spatial awareness of like where Max was in relation to them. I felt like every time they moved up one truck, like Max was, because we had a couple of scenes of Max kind of looking back, and I thought she was right behind him, and then she just kind of kept moving up. But whatever, like during that, it really hit me during that scene where like she's trying to like she's in between those two trucks and like kind of push them apart.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is the same woman that punched a Doomsday, and she can't move a car. Like, this doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of, well, and I guess and that was kind of where it was like, all right, so like that was the part where I was like, something's got to be up, because like that, and also like when she's like at the White House or whatever, and she gets shot and like it hurts a lot, and I'm just kind of like,
But also,
like,
they didn't go all in on that, because she still seemed to be pretty much as fast as always. She seemed to be
Yeah,
just
but
as reflexive because she caught a bullet with her whip, which looked very goofy, but kind of cool.
yeah,
Like,
that whip, man, that was something.
yeah, like
Or lasso, excuse me, is the correct
that's right.
term,
Yeah,
but
lasso.
you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, like there were some decent action moments in this movie, but like almost every decent action moment, it was followed immediately with one that was like, "Oh, that was cool. Oh, that was goofy. Oh, that was cool. What?" Like that
Yeah.
entire Cairo
What?
caravan scene was just her like doing something cool and then doing something goofy, doing something cool, and then my absolute maybe my least favorite sequence of the entire movie is her just like sliding on that car door like underneath that one truck for a long time. Like
Hmm.
this movie has a huge pacing problem as it is. It's 2 hours and
Yeah.
30 minutes, yet nothing happens. Easily could have been two
Right?
hours and you wouldn't have had to change much. I feel like scenes like that where, like, Steve is doing something over here, but she's just like looking around as like stuff is firing at her, and then like it keeps cutting in between them. She's still just under the truck, and then she just fixes the problem. So she's strong enough to just pull on a truck and it explodes and she goes flying up in the air, but she's not strong
Yeah.
enough to just pull a lock off the wall or
It was very
yeah.
inconsistent. I mean, I guess you could say adrenaline, but I mean,
And then
whatever.
it's not like she lost it drastically, or like not like she kind of like lost it over time. It was like she made her wish, and then she went to like 50% power, and then she stayed at 50% for the rest of the movie. It would have felt more, I don't know, more impactful for her to like, as the movie goes, if for actually to be a choice of like, do I keep Steve around or do I get my powers back? But when she still had some power, I know she lost to Barbara at the White House, but like she still had, you know, at least some power. It's not like she lost it completely.
Mhm.
I don't know. And I this might be my hottest take of the entire movie. I don't know how you felt about. Well, let me first ask you this: what is your thoughts on the invisible jet scene?
I that made I don't know. They did not explain that at all. Like she kind of just can make things invisible. Is that a thing? Because I have
I don't
never heard of
know.
that.
I,
Like I, if it's a
she's
thing, I will be wrong, but I have never heard of that.
she's
She just
able
kind of can do that.
just
And
to
if
just
she
do
can,
anything.
she should have used it a lot more than just once.
Yeah,
Like that would have made a movie a lot
she
easier.
just rubs her hands together and turns an entire jet invisible.
Casually.
And
And not just invisible, now it's not on radar, which I call BS on because that's not how radar works.
yeah, I, I get that it's magic, so yeah, it's magic, whatever. But first, at no point in either movie or any movie she's been in up to this point has there been any indication that she's able to just do magic. Obviously, she's imbued with the power of Zeus or whatever, but we never got the sense that she was able to do magic. She kind of contextualized it by saying, "My father was able to shroud the mascara, so maybe I can do it too." But they didn't. That's not good enough. You can't just do that and then not follow up on it early, like later on in the movie.
Or ever again,
Yeah, like
probably.
is that the only magic spell she could do? If she's imbued with stuff that Zeus can do, can she also just throw out lightning just because? Like, I don't.
Also, did they just lose it? Because I don't think they ever used it again.
Yeah, that's another thing. She used this new random power in a depowered state.
Yeah.
So when she gets her powers back in the end, it's like why doesn't she just obliterate Cheetah if she's able to just pull out this new random power out of her butt and just yet still almost loses to Cheetah in the end. And yeah, I'll go ahead and say this here. I legitimately feel, like I said, this might be my absolute hottest take of the entire movie. I feel like Wonder Woman turning the jet invisible is this movie's You're a Palpatine. I'll
I
explain
won't
that.
say it's that bad.
No, well, it's not. not in the sense you might be thinking. It's not that it's obviously this is not as bad a movie as Rise of Skywalker, but I think it's to my reasoning is essentially when you're watching Rise of Skywalker, there are some scenes that you're like, oh, I kind of like that, or that's kind of goofy, but I like these characters fine enough and whatnot. You're going through the movie, you have maybe some mixed feelings, but overall kind of positive, at least up to a certain point. With that point being, as soon as Kylo Ren says, "You're a Palpatine," everything after that movie gets worse, and everything before that movie gets worse. You just start thinking, it's like, now that I know this, now that this line is said, and that contextualizes everything for the rest of the movie, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. And they don't really follow up on it in any meaningful way. It just makes the movie worse as a whole for this line or this scene to happen. I feel that exact same way about her turning the jet invisible. Like, I had generally positive thoughts about it up to that point. There were a couple of scenes before that where I thought were a little goofy, but overall I thought it was generally positive. But when that happened, I was like, that's goofy, but whatever, I guess. Every single major scene after that point, I couldn't give it the benefit of the doubt. There were a couple of scenes before that I was like, that's kind of cool, but also goofy, or like that line was a little weird, or like, stuff like that. But after that point, especially the Cairo caravan scene, I'm like, this is too goofy. This is too much. Especially since they're not explaining anything that's happening, I can't take it seriously anymore. Mm-hmm. So I feel that's why her turning the jet invisible is the Year of Palpatine scene of this movie. Does that make sense?
Okay, now that you explained it, I kind of get your point. It kind of makes everything around it worse.
Yes.
Just because it exists. I get it. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about how Steve Trevor knows how to fly a jet 70 years later?
Sure.
Because no.
Why not?
Like, no. I don't care how good you were a pilot during World War One. Mm-hmm. It's 1984. You don't know what any of this stuff does. Like, there's no way.
He really, really likes flying. That is his one.
Come on, man. I mean, that's like, freaking. Like, come on, man. Like.
Speaking of scenes that took too long, like that scene of them just finding the jet and then taking off, and then like. That felt like 10 minutes of your movie just for them to get to Cairo.
Yeah, it was. And then the whole fireworks scene, which is also random. The weird timing, how it's like literally July, and at the last second it's Christmas. Like, I get this movie came out on Christmas, but I'm like, why?
No.
Like that was, because I remember I was watching it and I was like, okay, cool, movie over. And then like it's snowing. I was like, wait, what?
I guess some time
it's like July.
They didn't say that. I don't know.
Like that was weird. But yeah, I don't know. Like that whole thing where they're flying jet, and he like knows very well what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of like,
magic.
No.
I don't know.
No, I mean, like, you don't like if someone drove the Model T and then just immediately came to today and could drive
drive a Tesla.
Yeah, like no, I don't see that happening.
No.
At all. Like, no, I get he's a pilot, but, like, there are limits to that. Yeah. It's been 70 years.
I feel like, kind of touching back on her losing her powers, I really feel like the Golden Eagle armor in this movie only exists as, like, A, a reference to the comics, and B, to sell toys. That's the only reason it exists in this movie, because they didn't even use it in a meaningful way, or at least in a way that you would think. A movie about Wonder Woman losing her powers, or at least for most of it, she's losing her powers. Yes, she has this all-powerful suit of armor that she can put on and at least get some kind of power boost. You would think she's losing her powers. She's not ready to give up Trevor yet, so she wants to go into the fight. So she puts on the armor and goes into the fight. She's still in a very weakened state, but she still has the armor, so she thinks she can do it. Sheeta, starts whipping her. The armor isn't enough. and she realized, and like maybe Steve already was like, I've lived my life. I'd be completely fine with with going away. Like, you need to do what you need to do. I'm fine with whatever you decide. And then, like, he already said his goodbye. She wasn't ready to give him up. Kind of as they're fighting, the armor is getting worn down. She's not putting up much of a fight as she wanted to. Then she renounces her wish, and then wins with her own power.
Mm-hmm.
But because of how it was done, she runs away from Steve and starts flying, which like really is falling with style. But like, sure, whatever. It was a decent scene. It looks a little goofy, but it's decent.
I feel like she forgot she could fly for a lot of this movie.
She can't. She was never seen to fly in the previous movie either.
So she can't fly?
No, I don't think so. She can jump really far, but she can't fly.
Why? Like, I don't know. That's on me. Most Wonder Women I know can fly, that's my bad.
So she's she's flying somewhere. She's like literally flying through the sky, supposedly to the climax. But the next time we see her, she's in the Golden Eagle armor, which means she flew somewhere and then remembered, I need to go back to my apartment that was in DC, the place I just ran away from, to get the armor, and then fly back to where I was going. So where did you just fly to? We saw her flying, and then we next saw her. She was in the armor. So we never really got.
Wait, so can she fly or not? I'm confused. Because there was a scene where she's like in the clouds, like basically sunbathing.
Yeah,
in the sky.
It was closer to just like falling with style, but maybe because she's magic. I don't know. I
don't know, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, but she was definitely flying in this movie.
Yeah,
and like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't. I don't know. It looked like it from here. But
I mean, if she was flying, I would give it to the movie, but whatever. Which gives even further, like, she literally just learned how to fly, but then she has to put the eagle armor on. And second, she just got her powers back. Fully. And then she also put on the armor. So, like, why did you need to...
It felt very on that. To be fair, I don't think she's fought... She didn't fight Cheetah without losing her power, so I guess she didn't know the cap on her strength. But yeah, I think you're right.
Kind of not. Obviously, she lost, but like it was kind of the point where if she was actually Wonder Woman, she, with her sword, she probably would have.
Yeah.
Which Wonder Woman didn't have a sword in this movie?
For some reason.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Whatever.
She had that lasso though. A lot. So I guess that Did she have a shield either?
No.
I don't think she did.
No.
She didn't have anything.
She used a tiara a couple of times, which I appreciated.
Yeah, no, I did like using a tiara. I think that's nice. That's something that's kind of gets forgotten about. But other than that.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, not that it would help too much, but like it was still something that Wonder Woman for that she just kind of didn't.
Yeah, or she would have, it was a very big plot. I mean, there was a lot about it in the last movie, so it would have made sense at least it was somewhere. Maybe it was in the apartment, we missed it, but I don't know.
So, yeah, I think we went over a lot of, the major issues I personally have, aside from one character we haven't really talked about. What did you feel about Max Lord being the main villain of this movie? What do you think of his plan?
I don't think he really had one, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he kind of was just, I want more, which kind of does make sense, because if you had the power to basically take over the world, I mean, I guess, if you, and I think his thing is he's slowly, I don't know, because his wish was to become the Thing.
Yes.
So what it was taken away from him was, I don't know if it was supposed to be, his son, or it was supposed to be, his sanity, I feel or his health. Also, it was kind of weird, because it felt like it was different things.
Although if he became the Stone, you think he would be able to control what took away from him? I don't know, whatever.
Right, that's what I was thinking. He could control what he took from other people.
I assume his, it was... you can become the stone, yet every time you make a wish, some part like your health starts failing more and more.
Right, because it was his health at first. Because he was like bleeding, randomly
Yeah, like a
coughing up blood.
bloodshot eye, headaches. Yeah,
Yeah, like
veins
he
are popping.
looked very. Yeah, he was getting sickly. And then later, I guess he like took someone else's health,
Yeah,
and then he started, I guess, going crazy. I
I
guess,
guess. But
but like it wasn't really. I guess if he had slowly been going crazy from the beginning, I think that would have been better.
I'm like, I love Pedro Pascal,
I
but
do.
and like I feel like he owned what was given to him in this movie, but what he was given was just insane. Like, what was his end goal to have nuclear fallout? Like, what does that get him? What does he gain from the world
Blowing
ending?
itself up, like very close to it. Like yeah, and I think it was more just about having control, but then I guess he didn't realize what that was going to do. Because what's the point of ruling the world if the world's gonna blow up any
Yeah,
second?
and it seemed like every step of the way his end goal changed,
Yeah,
and he didn't lay out what he really wanted aside from more until the plane ride to the climax. Like, you don't just finally explain the villain's plan 20 minutes before the movie is over.
yeah,
It's like we were building and building and building to something, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere, and that's just kind of this whole movie.
yeah. And it's weird because like if you thought you got it at first, because obviously he just wants success, his oil, he wants more money. Okay, that's one thing. But then it kind of just like, you know what? I want everyone's oil. I want this. I want. And then he kind of just like, "Hey, let's go. I want to take over the world. Like I want to be the president, and then I want to go from the president, and then I can get more." And I guess his
Yeah,
greed kind of just became his only obsession. But like,
I guess.
I mean, it was. I guess how it was done, it wasn't there. It wasn't. I guess it wasn't laid out as clearly as it could have
Yeah,
been. But
and like I
it
was,
kind of makes sense.
I was all in on this kind of villain for this movie because, like I said, in the first 30 minutes, I was all in on this being, a cheesy 80s, 80s kids movie where every single 80s kids movie is a rich billionaire who's essentially a Trump allegory. Like they just all are. Like, even
Yeah.
back in the '80s, like whatever. Like I'm not getting political. Even the '80s, they knew whatever. It's fine. Like every single villain in the '80s and '90s was that kind of character, and I was like, oh, like they don't even have to like. This movie's not even making any kind of like new age political statement. That's just like who these villains are in these kinds of movies. But
They're gonna build a parking lot on the park or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly.
yeah,
But and like I thought he was just going to use the wishing stone, just like give himself infinite power or give himself powers or like no, but when he used it to actually get the become the wishing stone, that felt a
that was
little.
interesting.
It was an interesting idea, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It just I feel like I don't know. I feel like he could have given him. I don't know. I feel like there's a way you could do it with him still having the wishing stone, but also being this ultra powerful person. Like there was, I feel like there was a much easier and better way to do it without a explaining what his plan actually is, and b without him actually becoming the wishing stone. I feel it just got a little confused as to what exactly they wanted from his character. So then by the end, when they actually do explain what he wants, it's kind of incongruous with what we've been building to.
yeah,
So then when the plan is actually happening, which the plan is he gets in front of live television and metaphorically touch the
yeah.
lives of
That no,
everybody, and that works.
no,
No.
that made no sense.
I know we're doing work with magic here, but that's too far fetched for me.
Yeah,
Like
well, it
again,
didn't make sense because
it's one of those things where like if the invisible jet scene hadn't happened, I might be able to forgive it, but because that happened, I just can't forgive that. I don't know.
it lowers the standard for everything else.
Exactly. Wonder Woman
Yeah, and
like
also,
uses her whip to show everyone the truth. I don't know.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, that didn't really make sense. I don't know. There was a lot of things that were kind of like, okay,
Why
like you
was he?
go along with, but you're kind of in the back of your head, like, is that really what it does?
Yeah,
But
in the end, there's this wind just blowing everywhere, and Max is standing in this weird
he
like
has the force
yeah.
somehow. Like I remember at the end, he's literally sitting there, and like she's like pushed against the wall
Uh-huh.
somehow, and I was like, what is
Like
happening
he's
right now? Like
standing in
I
this
was
weird
literally
like
like,
pillar
what
of
is that?
blue light. Like what is that blue light pillar? Like
I
what are you doing?
I don't know. It looked like there was supposed to be something there, and then it just wasn't. I don't know. It was so weird because he just had this like power. I'm like, how do you? What is holding
Like
her back like now?
I
Like I
know
was
that
so.
every single time someone makes a wish, like a little bit of wind kind of blows. So maybe everyone making a wish, he's just producing this intense
But that's
wind.
really dumb.
It
Like
is.
that's dumb. Like
It
that's
like this
or at
movie.
least explain that. I guess
It
like
really
maybe like
does
light
feel.
around him.
It really does feel like even though this movie was supposed to come out in 2019, and then later, like it's had like four different release dates. It
Right.
feels like this movie has like four different scripts going at the same time, with like one of them being having Max be the main villain, one having Cheetah be the main villain, and like one with both of them, but it's a different movie, and one that I feel like even one that doesn't have Steve in it. Like I don't know, I feel like, or just there's multiple different morals and themes and like sequences that just don't really make sense if you take in the full picture. Like I feel the entire thing with the Golden Eagle armor was done in reshoots. It just has that feel to it. I don't know. It just
There was yeah, they didn't I think that was like one of those situations where multiple people had different ideas of where this was going and then it just ended up being kind of a convoluted mess.
because Max having the Force or some kind of wind power could have worked if he had wished himself to have powers.
But
But
then he wouldn't but can he make wishes for I don't think he can make wishes for himself, can he?
I don't. I mean,
Because like he would have to take it from someone else.
he could he could get someone to wish him to have powers. I guess I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I guess that would have made more sense.
Like have
But still,
have his like trick his son into making him the most powerful person on the planet, which like gives him power somehow. I don't. I feel that
they could have worked that out somehow.
yeah it does. This movie doesn't make me angry. It doesn't. It's just a big disappointment. It's just kind of. It's a movie that I definitely don't mind not watching it in a theater. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it did. I think not being in theaters was a problem. Because, like, a lot of the big scenes and the big moments felt way smaller,
Yes.
on my
And
couch.
I'm sure if they had, and part of that might have been because they were still kind of going for that '80s flair, but like either go all in on that or go all in on, a more on like a Marvel-esque superhero movie, but they kind of met somewhere in between. So like you can't even enjoy it for being an '80s romp, you can't enjoy it for being a serious superhero movie. So it's just kind of somewhere in between where you can't tell like was that goofy on purpose or is it just bad cinematography? Like
Yeah. Like, what exactly is going on here?
it
But,
doesn't take itself too super seriously though, which is why I feel I'm generally more upset and kind of angry at movies like BVS and Rise of Skywalker. They take themselves so seriously, even though they are, based on children's characters. Because those movies take themselves so seriously, all the parts that are stupid kind of shine brighter.
fall
Whereas this
flat.
movie, it does generally take itself a little, less serious. But because there is that kind of middle ground where it does feel like I think there were two major writers, Patty Jenkins and then some other person. It felt like Patty Jenkins wanted to make a more like '80s romp, and then the other person wanted to make it a more serious superhero movie. And
Yeah,
they
but
couldn't work it out. Yeah.
yeah, but still, it's kind of and it's weird because like it really felt like in the moments that there was a lot of like weird jokey stuff in the moment that's seen that we're trying to be more serious and not in the obvious joke moments, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like more in the beginning, like it didn't see, like there wasn't a lot of stuff at the beginning that was just like, what? That's weird. But like near the end and so like that, it's kind of like, huh? And like those are the more serious moments, so it kind of feels less
Mm-hmm.
forgivable.
Yeah. I, it's definitely not a movie I plan on watching again anytime soon. I just feel like I haven't seen the first Wonder Woman in a while either. I just kind of haven't seen
That's
it. Like
fair.
I've wanted to see the first one again. I just haven't. This one I don't plan on watching again anytime soon unless like I have a friend who wants to see it. I'll just be like, okay, fine, but
It just doesn't feel, and like I guess my thing too is kind of just like, yeah, like, it kind of feels like a, yeah, just disappointing, but also yeah, kind of a waste of Cheetah, and also like the wishing. The main concept of the whole wishing thing has been done better,
yes.
and I think that's what kind of is frustrating. It's like it's not like a difficult trope to be done,
Mm,
and it kind of feels like they were trying to make it different, but in trying to make it different, I feel like they kind of messed it up.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just disappointed. I
Yeah.
really wanted to like it. I was so excited. I got HBO Max for this movie. I
Oof.
just, I mean, I'm gonna watch other stuff on it. Like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
have an entire list of stuff because the way we're doing it, we kind of had a agreement where like he'll get it this month, I'll get it. Like he'll get it this month, and then I cancel the subscription, and then I'll get it whenever something else comes out, and then we'll just kind of rotate on from
Okay.
there. So like there is, and we do have an entire list of stuff we'll watch. We're gonna watch before the end of the month. So like it's not a waste, but this movie could have been so much better. It should have been so much
Yeah.
better. It's just I don't know. I yeah. I'm just any final thoughts. I'm kind of at a loss for words here.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like the first scene was one of my favorites in the whole
Absolutely,
movie,
yeah. Even though it didn't
which is
really end up
weird
mattering, it was
because
still a very good scene.
yeah, which is weird because it really did feel kind of cool. It was interesting, and you are rooting for her, and like I don't know, they could have tied it together a little bit
Mm,
better, and it was kind of just random, but
yeah,
yeah, not my favorite, not my favorite, but
no.
I'd say like 6 out of 10 for now.
I
It's kind of generous.
maybe because I gave Venom a 5, and Venom I had a 5 because it was so boring and just and and very safe for the kind of movie it was. I can't. I'm really trying to determine if I think this is a better movie than Venom because I don't really like Venom. It's just everything about that movie was just a poor concept. But like my thoughts aren't mixed on Venom. It's not like there's one scene that I loved or one scene that I hated. It was just like it was all meh. Wonder Woman, most of it was a disappointment. There's a couple of scenes and characters that I did really like. Like I did really like Pedro Pascal's portrayal of Maxwell Lord. Like I said, he did great with what he was given, and I liked Diana enough. I liked Steve Trevor enough. She was fine, but like I don't know if it saves the. I'll give it a 4. I'll say it's a 4 for now because I always have a very bad habit of like highballing movies very shortly
That
after.
is
'Cause
true.
when
That is
I
true.
when I first saw BVS and Suicide Squad, I was like maybe 7, at the high end. Oh boy, Rise of Skywalker, I said it was a 3.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I have that too. Like I first see a movie and I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad, and I give it a couple days. I'm like, that was actually so. Like my 6 might go down to a 5.
I
Yeah, I
I'm
always
gonna start
yeah.
at 4. It might go up if I see other people, having other opinions on it, or like after time goes by. I don't know. Like I don't see that going down much. Maybe, but it could go up. I don't know. I'll stick with 4 for now. just disappointed. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it wasn't as good. It really wasn't. The action didn't feel as good.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. I didn't like the character. Like this movie didn't make me like Wonder Woman as much as the first one did.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Because she wasn't in most of it.
Yeah.
She was only Wonder Woman for like maybe 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and like it wasn't, and like half of that she didn't even have her powers, so it was kind of, or like half had her powers, and like the ending was kind of like a softball, like kind of corny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a good
I
ending
did like the
either.
Linda Carter cameo.
Yeah,
It was
I
very,
was
very
like
good.
that was like
Cute.
that. I mean, but that didn't even touch the movie. That was just there.
Cute.
I feel like if that had been Earth, like if Linda Carter, like first of all, I never understood why they didn't get Linda Carter to play like Apollo 7 in the first place,
That would have been
because that
fun.
makes way
Yeah.
too much sense to
Yeah.
me. Like, not only does she like look more like her than the mom does, but like it's the OG Wonder Woman, so like
The
that would
exact
totally
same.
make sense. It's kind of like how they would do like a, I don't know, like I don't know. I always thought because like
It's like how in the Batman cartoon from the mid 2000s, Adam West was the mayor.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, something like that. Like that's one of the like like little. Not, it doesn't have to be a lot because again, Apollo's only in that movie for like what 2 minutes, but like her being Linda Carter just
Yeah.
makes more sense than just this random Amazon who we've never heard about till earlier this movie for half a second. But I mean, like good for Linda Carter. Good for her.
Yeah.
She deserves get a shout out. But like it kind of just felt like a throwaway cameo.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, essentially, my number rating doesn't even really matter because that's gonna fluctuate. My final
Probably.
rating, like I said at the beginning, this movie doesn't make me angry. It doesn't like fill me with nerd rage like BVS and Ars can do. But I would much rather watch those movies because I get more out of them, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
feel like there's more to like not enjoy per se, although BVS has a lot of just fantastic moments, ironically. But this, it's not great, but it's not like the worst superhero movie of all time. But it definitely could have been a lot better.
Yeah, I think there was a lot to be desired because there was a lot of hype going into this. Because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
liked the first one, and then this one, it's kind of like, ooh,
Yeah,
which
like
like I had heard there were mixed reviews, but I didn't really look into it because I was like, I want to see it myself and see what I think. And I'm like, I
like
get it now.
essentially, it feels like if I weren't told that this movie was originally going to be a theatrical release and was originally just made for HBO Max, I would believe you.
Yeah, yeah, because like seeing this in theaters would have been disappointing for
Yes.
sure. Like it would have been probably better to see visually,
Mm.
just with a bigger screen, better sound, all that than my TV. But like, yeah, like as
The
far as
cracks would have formed
thematically,
a lot faster. I think I wouldn't have even gotten to the invisible jet scene before thinking this movie is not great.
yeah, no, I mean, for me, it was just getting it going because like the amount of time it took to go from this is where Diana is, where she works,
Mm.
all the way to like actually going basically to Egypt is pretty much where things kind of get started.
Yep.
That's like an hour of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even joking. Like that is a lot of just kind of talking about stuff.
Yep.
And really not even explain, and like that's not really explaining that much. It's kind of speculating and just random talking, and then yeah, it didn't really. Yeah, it felt like there was a lot of. It was a long movie where a lot of it felt wasted, like it was wasted
Yes.
time. But
Like they literally whatever. Like yeah, there was a lot of wasted time where I feel like most or all of it could have just taken place in or around DC and would have been a tighter, better movie. Well, you didn't have to go all the way to Cairo just to have that scene there. Like that scene only exists for Wonder Woman to find out something that the audience already knows. So it's not really you're not really like, oh, well, how is Wonder Woman gonna deal with this information that we already knew about? Whatever.
Yeah, it just kind of. I was just bored. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I
I was
was
bored.
bored for a lot of it, which is not ideal for a superhero movie.
No,
So yeah,
but
what do all of you think of this movie down below? Do you hate it? Do you actually like it more than the first one? Please tell us how or why. I'd like to hear all that. Yeah, um, and yeah, with that, I think we'll see you all next time.
wrap it up. Take care, guys.